Welcome to the Film Podcast. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Well, this depends on who you are though, and how you feel about the holidays. Let's talk about a new Christmas movie that has the trees, the presents, and the bobble hats, but won't be bringing out the Christmas cheer. But also, it isn't the first time we've seen this movie. So let's dive in. I've just seen Silent Night, Deadly Night. I wanted to have a festive treat at the cinema, and this year there have been no Christmas movies. Now, I'm not one to celebrate the Christmas thing anyway. I'm not a big fan of Christmas. I never have been a big fan of Christmas. Don't know why, but I thought this year, considering I've got this channel and all of that, I'm going to go and see a nice, new, festive, fun treat for myself and talk about a Christmas film on the channel because it's Christmas time, right? The season of goodwill. Looking down the listings of the cinema, there's a distinct lack of festive films out there today. And I may do with a movie called Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is, it's a horror film. It's a horror film. And not only is it a horror film, but it's a very gory one. We've been here before. If you think back to last year, if you think right the way back to 2024, we had a movie called Terrifier 3, which was, despite the time of year that it came out, was a Christmas film. I mean, look at this. If this doesn't tell you I'm a Christmas film, then I don't know what does. So that was out Halloween last year. And I did do a review on it. It was very, very in the early days of the channel. But it's out there somewhere anyway. And so this kind of reminds me a little bit of that. But I'm a little bit shocked at what I've just seen. Not because of the violence and gore. I mean, that's there as well, yeah. But I wasn't expecting it to have a decent story. I was not expecting that. No, I wasn't. So there are some things we should get off our chest about Silent Night, Deadly Night. But let's do that on our way home because, it's all right, this. This is all right. Call me insane, and lots of people have. I've seen Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I feel festive. festive. This film, unexpectedly, has made me feel Christmassy. And that is not what I expected to feel. Oh my God. But it's definitely not a movie to get the family round and enjoy on Christmas Day. Do not put this film on Christmas Day. But then you won't be able to because it's out in cinemas now anyway. There's got to be an alternative Christmas movie list. No, I'm not going to do one of those because somebody else on YouTube will have done it, I'm sure. In the realms of alternative Christmas movies, of Christmas movies that don't do what they should do in terms of the celebration of Christmas, i.e. lots and lots of murder with an axe, this film is perfect for that. Perfect for that. See, what I didn't know, and what I need to look into a little bit more, is the fact that this is a remake. And it's a remake of a movie from 1984. When the movie began, I was thinking, I hate this. I hate this. I can't stand this. This is every cliche in the book is here. Every single trope is here. And I'm like, okay, fine. All right. I know what I'm in for, but I'm just going to sit here and let it do its thing. Whatever, that's fine. It's kind of like, oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? But we end up in a sort of little small town. And our guy is, he's after a job. And he sort of gets a job at this Christmas shop that sells Christmassy things. We get introduced to another one of our characters in there, or a few of our characters, actually. It's all fine. It's all sort of, okay, I can see where this is going, fine, whatever, yeah, all right. And then we develop what is called a story. It veers away from what I expected it to be. Then we switch gears. We switch gears a little bit and we start to understand things a little bit more. And I'm not saying that, this isn't a big genius thing. It's not a groundbreaking story. It's not Rashomon. But I appreciate the fact that the people that have made this have made an effort. It's very low budget though. This is a very low budget film. You could see that. The visual effects are low budget. And I think that that's probably to its benefit, really. It's not as gory as I'd like it to have been. It's gory in the fact that, you know, the stuff that happens to people is horrible and icky and, you know, splodgy. You don't see a lot of gore. You do see some, but you don't see a lot of gore. I guess the budget was so low, the gore budget was minuscule, most probably. It doesn't have any tension either. I mean, it just has no tension whatsoever. But that's okay. That's all right as well, because everything else that surrounds those two things that it doesn't have is interesting enough and fun enough to warrant its existence. It's all right, this. This is okay. Silent Night, Deadly Night, all right. And really what we need to do is we need to get to the nuts and bolts of this whole thing. Let's do a little bit of research on this film, because there's something more to this than meets the eye, I think. And specifically, the lead performance is pretty good. There's been a mysterious lead character, and then there's being an edgy lead character, and then there's being a boring lead character, and then there's being a dramatic lead character. There's all sorts of things a lead character can do and be in a movie. Our main character in this, our main guy, I think he does a good job here. And I'm saying that because that quiet, broody kind of thing, but much more realistic, not annoying. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Is this an anti-Christmas film? Is this a film for people that go, I hate Christmas, I can't stand any of this saccharine shite that we have to deal with at Christmas time? Is it that? I don't think it is. It's not taking the piss out of Christmas, but at the same time, it doesn't toe the party line, let's say. Obviously, there's a great debate about Die Hard, right? Is Die Hard a Christmas film? Now, I recently went to see Die Hard on the big screen. Fabulous experience. I'd never seen it on a big screen before. I'd never seen John McClane do his thing on the big screen. Never seen it, and I loved it. It was there, and it was huge. And I know you can buy it on DVD for like £2. It's on Disney Plus. I know you can put it on and watch it. You don't need to make the effort to go to it. But the cinema is where these things should be seen, right? Die Hard was a fabulous experience in the cinema. To watch that, like last week, whenever it was, at Christmas time. And you know what else I got to see on the big screen too? Is Gremlins. On the big screen is a whole other experience. I thought, I'm going to do reviews of them all. I'm going to review them all. I'm going to talk about them all. It's going to be great, blah, 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 blah. But then I thought, well, no, hang on a second. Those experiences for me are just like transcendent. It's like, that's where you're supposed to see those films. That's where they were made to be seen on the big screen. And this channel's all about that. But then I thought to myself, well, okay, right. So everyone's talked about those things many, many times. There's so many channels or videos on YouTube about Die Hard, about Gremlins, about all of those movies that we love at Christmas time. But I thought, no. Let's review something new. Let's talk about something brand new. And Silent Night, Deadly Night is the film that I picked. Whatever time of year it is, then the films that show up to accompany that time of year. There's a slight obligation there to go and, to go along for the ride, to go with it, to roll with it, if you will. I just find it difficult to do that at Christmas time. Halloween, easy, fine, no problem at all. I'm all right with all the Halloween stuff that comes out. Loads of it usually comes out. Not as much of it as they used to be. I'm talking new stuff, of course. Summertime as well. I mean, you've got the summer blockbusters. There's always going to happen, right? There's always going to be that. That's always going to be there. The pivotal times of the year are all covered cinematically. But recently, Christmas hasn't really had much going on in terms of big screen entertainment. If you look at Netflix, then there's loads of absolutely diabolical Christmas films on there. I mean, stuff that makes you want to puke your guts out. Like, literally. Netflix is the king of shit Christmas films. But somehow, you put them on the big day, in the background, and they work really well. Somehow that happens. Despite my recent upsetness at Netflix for what they've done, I'm talking about this, or what they could potentially do to cinematic presentations, to theatrical presentations. They do make some decent stuff, I'll be honest. They make some all right things, and they make some terrible things, and I think the Christmas stuff that Netflix make, I think it's perfectly fine for them to take over that B-movie Christmas thing. But, on the big screen itself, there isn't really much in the way of Christmas films. I don't think so, and there hasn't been for quite a while. Credit where credit's due. The people that made Silent Night, Deadly Night, I mean, at least they've had a go at making a Christmas film, and they've released it at Christmas time, and it goes a little bit against type. In fact, it goes a lot against type because it is rather violent. Well, that's fine. I visited a couple of friends, absolutely legendary close friends the other day, and they also made me feel very Christmassy as well because, you know, they're wonderful people. But aside from that, I think going to see stuff on the cinema screen that is Christmas themed has helped out this Grinch man in enjoying Christmas time. Okay, do I look different? Well, that's because it's a few days after I went to see Silent Night, Deadly Night. I did some extra research because I noticed there was a few odd moments in the film that stood out to me. Like I found out way after the screening, I went home and I thought, you know what? I'm going to find the original version of Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I'm going to watch it and I'm going to see what the difference is between the two films. Now, hands up, who knew that this film was a remake? No hands. Nobody's got their hands up. No hands. Hands up who, if they did know it was a remake, has seen the original. No hands. I don't see any hands either. So the fact that it's a remake shocked me the most. It's from 1984. That's when the original came out. I went home and I watched it after seeing the new one. I found it on Amazon Prime. So if you're in the UK and you've got Amazon Prime, then you'll find it there. That's where it lives right now. And after watching it, there's a few observations I made. One of them is that it shares the same DNA. It kind of has that same aura as films like Halloween, Return of the Living Dead, Friday the 13th, and a few others from that particular era of horror movies. The only difference is that this one is Christmas themed, which is really unusual, and it manages to pull it off. It is definitely darker, and it is a lot more sleazy than the remake, but it's all about the story. Now, in the review for the remake, I did talk about the remake story, which is, you know, it's weird, and it's sometimes a little bit shit, but it works. I think it works really well. And I think it works in that kind of, I'm a little bit of a nutty horror film, I'm a little bit of a low budget horror film, and I'm not afraid to be any of those things. Well, this one, the original version, it comes from that same camp as those early to mid 80s horror films. Trashy ones, I guess. It has flashes of gore, it has flashes of crazy moments in it, but ultimately it is a psychological horror film. It's about someone's descent into madness for a very specific reason. And that very specific reason is a sort of version of what you see in the new one. Each of those scenes, A, that exist in both films, and B, that only exist in the original 1984 version, they certainly work together to create the whole story, the whole narrative, and also that drives the main character, well, to do what he does. I reckon the 1984 version of Silent Night, Deadly Night is really interesting. It's not as fun as the new one. The new one's just created to be a piece of crazy horror film, fun, madness, and all of that. The original version is a lot more, well, I won't say serious, because it's still got that trashy element. I will say that it's more affecting, and it's more of a study on psychological breakdowns, on going a bit crazy, and it all kind of builds up to this moment, this one moment that happens in the film. That's when we get the gore, that's when we get the crazy stuff. I'd have never watched this if the new version didn't exist. I'd have never even knew it existed at all, in fact. Let's just go through a selection of scenes in both of them that are the same. That, you know, obviously the new one pays homage to the original one by recreating these particular scenes. Firstly, you've got the stuff that happens at the beginning, the start off, the kick-off point to how both of our characters end up in the situation that they're in. They're both kids, and they both experience a really horrific thing. Their parents get murdered by a Santa Claus, by a Father Christmas, by a man in that costume. Maybe it's the real Father Christmas, I don't know. There's also a wonderful scene, again in both films, and it's a sort of, well, let's just say it's a sled decapitation. Yeah, and you know, snow, People enjoying themselves on a sled, or in one case, of course, running away on a sled, or, sliding away on a sled, or whatever you do on a sled. Heads be rolling. Heads be rolling. Then there's a particularly tense scene. Again, this is in both versions of the film. It features a box cutter, and the homage that the new one plays to the original version is really well done. It's pretty good, actually, and it is pretty tense. In a film that is silly most of the time, this is a very tense moment in that film. It could go one way or it could go the other. I'm not giving away which way it goes, but, fair enough. Aside from those things, both films are very different from each other from, certain points onwards. Again, I didn't know that the original version existed. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about it at all. And sitting down watching it, I kind of thought to myself, you know what, right? If I didn't know that these two things were related to each other, then I'd never have guessed that if I'd have sat down and watched both of them anyway. It's got its fair share of terrible acting, but the original one, the crazy scene in it, basically takes place in a toy store. Now, we get a toy store in the new version as well, but the toy store in the new version isn't the place where the craziest scene takes place. We'll get to that in a minute. But in the original version, it's a toy store. It's a toy store where our lead character works. He's asked to stand in to be Father Christmas, right? To be Santa Claus, whatever you want to call him, in the toy store because the Santa Claus is drunk or whatever, didn't show up and all of that. And that's the tipping point for the main character. He snaps and goes completely mad and takes everybody in the toy store out as violently as possible. And he does it under the premise that he's trying to help the people themselves. It's really strange, but then if somebody's descended into madness, then that's what's going to happen, right? Someone's going to snap and they're going to go nuts, and it doesn't even matter what the reason is, it's just going to happen. It does have that horror film lunacy that you get. It's got that. It certainly has. Christmas is almost upon us. If you're looking for something to watch that's just available for you to see, then check out Amazon Prime and have a look at Silent Night, Deadly Night, the 1984 version. It's right there for you to watch. It's mostly terrible, but it's got something about it that I thought was quite intriguing and quite interesting. So we've just talked about a standout scene in the original 1984 version. Let's talk about a standout scene in the new version. But before we do that, let's carry on. Let's get moving. Let's get out of here. Let's hit the road and we'll see where we can get. Ultimately, Silent Night, Deadly Night is terrible. Yeah, let's be honest. On reflection, thinking about it for a few days now, it's awful. The acting is not very good. I've thought about that a lot, and I'm going to be honest, the acting is not great. In fact, some of the storylines, some of the beats, some of the things that happen are also a little bit what the fuck. But again, I actually enjoyed the film. And I loved the silliness of it, and the fact that it's a Christmas horror film, and the fact that, as I said in the original review, there ain't many Christmas films out there right now anyway. But let's talk about that standout scene. Let's talk about that crazy, violent scene that is probably my favourite part of this film, and probably redeems the whole damn thing. Whereas I talked about the scene in the original 1984 version, this version's got a scene that goes off the rails as well. And it goes off the rails in the greatest fashion. Now think back to a review, in fact my last review, which was Sisu 2, Road to Revenge, and also Sisu 1 as well. There are scenes in that film that feature the destruction of Nazis. And I cannot believe I sat there watching Silent Night, Deadly Night, and pretty much the same damn thing happens. And I ain't making this up. Our lead character, our main character, he goes on the hunt, essentially, to do a bit of murdering with his axe, and he comes across not one, not two, but an entire barn, yes, a barn, filled with Nazis. And these Nazis are all dressed in Christmas costume, right? In the red hat and the thing and the red things and all of that. You sit there and you go, what the fuck is going on? What is this? This scene is probably violent scene of the year. It is spectacular. It is really something special. It's an axe, it's Nazis dressed as Santa Claus, and it is glorious to watch. It was one of those scenes that elevate a film from being something that you just go, I mean, it's all right, this is not bad. To being like, oh my God, this is great. This is so fabulous. I loved it. I wanted to cheer, in fact, because the axe is swung, the heads come off, the body parts come off, there's things everywhere. How do you justify that? How do you make it so the axe-wielding madness that this lead character does is acceptable? Well, I'll tell you how you do it. You have a barn full of Nazis. That's how you do it. It's a wonderful scene. I loved it so much. It was my favourite thing in the film because it was utterly unhinged and utterly fabulous. Anyway, I reckon I'm done. I reckon this is it. I reckon we are done here. I think we've talked about this film enough to give you a little bit of a aperitif, if you want to call it that, about whether you should go and see it or not. There's not many Christmas films out there, unless you're thinking about the classics that are being re-shown right now. There aren't many new Christmas films out. So I'd say, if you do want to go and see something Christmassy and you like horror films, then go and see this for sure. So let's sum up Silent Night, Deadly Night. Christmas is usually a time for joy. Christmas is usually a time for giving presents, seeing family, and just generally being nice. And I think that's what the lead character in Silent Night, Deadly Night is trying to be. I think he's trying to be a nice guy. I think he's got a psychological problem that's manifested itself as a voice in his head. The way he deals with his problems is kind of cool, because on one hand he's a sadistic murderer, but on the other hand he's doing good in the world. It all kind of makes sense, even though it's completely insane. Silent Night, Deadly Night is mostly terrible. It's mostly awful. It's mostly just, well, not great, really. And it redeems itself with a couple of standout scenes that I really did enjoy, that I really sat there and thought, this is great. For whatever reason these scenes are here, they have redeemed the movie. And that's perfectly fine. A film is allowed to not be 100% great all the way through. It's allowed to have some problems, it's allowed to have some issues, but this has got greatness mixed in with its madness and mixed in with its, shitness as well. It's called Silent Night, Deadly Night, and it is available everywhere, and it's probably going to hang around until at least after Christmas time. So go and see it, enjoy it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think it's the worst thing you've ever seen. How could I recommend such a thing? Or let me know if you think, like me, that it's just a nutty, fun, weird, odd, violent, crazy, and warm and cozy, fuzzy Christmas movie. This is the Film Podcast. Thank you for watching. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again soon. Oh yeah, and that AI Coca-Cola advert, fuck you, Coca-Cola, fuck you.